All right, peace, everybody. I wanted to open up this open chat for tonight. This is not going to take long because I won't have a whole lot of time to actually address some most of the issues that has plagued us this week into this morning. So we've done quite a few open chats and live streams the last week or so, and I woke up this morning to see in our email that a couple of our videos have been flagged. Okay, people are flagging our videos now. We just saw just a few minutes ago on the economics hangout, we got 3 thumbs down. So what we're running into now is people are just hating on us at this point. Where right now our channel's in a warning state. If you get 2 warnings on YouTube, they will suspend your channel, and you get 3 warnings. If you get 3 strikes, then your channel is gone permanently. And what's happening with Black YouTube, the manosphere, is that people are taking issue with our content. We got flagged in August, and I appealed that, and we were successful with that. But had that flagging of the content been consistent with what happened this morning, we would be in a not so good standing state. And if we lose our channel, all of the work that we put in will go right down the drain. And so there is a movement within Black manosphere to kind of silence thinking Black men. They don't want Black men who can think. They don't want Black men who can, challenge the status quo of BWs and the gynocracy and some of these other individuals who claim to be for the people but are not for the people. You see, we made some comments, and I'm very careful about my words, and I want everybody else who comes on here to be very careful about some of the stuff that you say, because they'll use that as a way to say it's hate speech, which is what we got this morning. Hate speech and propaganda. So what I'm saying here is we're at a point where we've grown the channel to that of being threatening to the status quo of what's in the manosphere, and actually out in general society too, offline. People don't like what we're saying. They don't like us. They don't like us talking about doom and gloom. They called it fair porn. We just call it fair gaggers or fair gagging. But they get to, they get to sit on their channel and they get to post BS all day long, and nobody says anything about that. We don't go over there and harass those people. We don't go give them thumbs downs, none of that stuff. So I find it interesting that we're starting to come under attack. At first I was seeing emails throughout the year, talking greasy about us behind our backs, and even directly to me, which is fine. I'm okay with the criticism, but I just don't think that taking down our channel is something that is fair. But these people don't play fair, and this is the sort of game that is being waged against us. And this is what we're up against now. We got a lot of people who don't want to see us actually advance. The panels be butter laid. The discussions be butter laid, and yet people still have, we don't even bash women for the most part. If you hear a lot of our discussions, they're actually a lot more intellectual than some other panels. Very rarely will you hear the word, bitch on here. I almost keep it mostly PG. You very rarely do you hear me curse.
PG-13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we are right now with this house cleaning thing, man. We gotta kind of be careful about. I see sometimes people type certain things in the chat about the alphabet group and things of that nature. You gotta be careful about what you say, because they'll take that as they'll take a screenshot of that, or they'll use that as a form of hate speech just for mentioning it. I don't know why you guys choose to use these terms to converse with each other, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to use it. We try not to use it.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll be the first to raise my hand on that mic. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. So I'll be more cognizant of the words that I use. And I think we should also shout out to all our mods. Let's try to maybe police our chat a little bit more. If we see stuff like this, let's go ahead and just kind of remove that from the chat.
Yeah, well, we'll have to put a filter in, but what I'm saying here is that there are people who can't handle the discussion. So instead of coming over here to debate us, what they would rather do is trying to flag our channels, or flag the content.
And that is, that's just really, that's awful, dude. Like,
yeah.
Seriously, that's awful, man.
It says that Complex's phone number is showing up on the screen. It really doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like he's unless you want to date with the dude. I mean,
I mean, it's my business line, whatever.
Yeah,
it's on our website. Anti-gravity. It's on there. It's on my business cards. Whatever.
Just don't send any dick pics.
Do not do that.
Yeah, don't do that. We don't do that here. We don't want that. The thing is, man, if we let me see if I can share my screen, man.
I mean, I would really. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Our most successful videos, live streams, have been that of the open chat. If you're looking at it right now, people seem to really like the open chats. I think because they can engage outside of the typical specific content that we have structured out, which is fine with me. Probably fine with the rest of the guys as well. But what's happening here is some people can't handle it, and I've heard people say this before behind the scenes, that they can't handle when some of the content that is so with some of the panel members make some comments, they can't handle it, so they leave. And if they're leaving, just based off of the conversations that we're having, there's probably a high probability that they get triggered and they decide that they're going to flag the content. So,
do these other channels deal with this though?
In which way?
I mean, we've heard about the flagging and stuff in the past, but usually from outside observation anyway, that typically seems to kind of spawn from like prior back and forths with someone. So case in point, just that a recent example that stands out in my mind, BMT and Game Changer, for example. When they flagged Game Changer's channel because of some stuff he said to somebody, and it was a whole what to do, but it's not to bring anything back up, because I think Game Changer, BMT are cool, but at least you could pinpoint what happened there, right, and who did what, and there was a reasoning behind it. But when we're getting flagged and it's like no one's really kind of like bringing issue to us, You know, that's where it's a bit disingenuous, man. And I'm not really feeling that shit because, you know, we say all the time, like, if there's issues that are had with things that are said on the Brain Trust, we'll drop the link. Come on, you can talk. You can talk to us. Chop it up. You know, we give the opportunity for people to voice any sort of, you know, concerns or any disagreements, you know, difference in opinions. We open it up. So I think it's a little, I don't know, it's a little bothersome for people to do that without at least expressing their grievance.
Yeah. Cyberdon has his hand raised.
You know, gentlemen, I'm glad you see, this is why this is a thorough channel. And you know, I respect you gentlemen, especially you, Mike, the way that you conduct yourself, even with the way how you just closed out that last chat. Everything about, you know, what's going on over here, it's class, it's dignity, and it's respectful. And you know, it's ironic that you dropped this and mentioned this because, you know, over the past couple of days, I have been going over a lot of the old content that you guys have been doing here, just really soaking up, really analyzing a lot of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see, you know, in a lot of the older chats that go back several months that, you know, I think you all were talking about, you know, the beginnings of the manosphere 3.0 and stuff like that. I could see then you guys had a special visitor, but I could see then how you guys had been mentioning back then that there were you know, these different factions out there, these different channels that were really looking to try and you know, really looking to try and bring this particular segment down. And you know, um it's very disheartening excuse me, that, you know, whoever the perpetrators may be, that they're able to take advantage of the system. And I don't want to say that the system is broken or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm not endorsing that because I don't want that to be a potential strike to be used against us. But it's unfortunate that you have perpetrators that can take advantage of those type of strikes. And one thing I want to say before I pass the buck to somebody else, I believe that, you know, perhaps there's a silver lining. I think there was some content creator out there who was more so on the political side. I have to pull it up, but had a lot of left and or right wing type of content that they were pushing out, and it was real political. And that person's channel, while YouTube took away the monetization aspect of that channel, they didn't ban the channel. And to close out, you know, one thing I can say is that you've gone on record. I've heard you in some of the other chats that this channel has had. You've literally said, you know, people have made offers to contribute donations or give this, and you have explicitly stated and tripled down that this channel isn't trying to monetize. We're not trying to take a handout from someone. It's about the content and about solutions. Everyone really doing work on the ground, being productive and giving out something that could be used to make other men conducive to leading and living productive and decent lives, especially within the context of you know, the colored man. So, you know, that's what I have to say. And brother and brothers, I stand behind you, gentlemen. Personally, I've never met you all, but I stand behind you guys personally and professionally, and whatever's around this mountain or up this mountain that awaits us. So I just want to say that, not as Cyberdyne 7, but as Terrell. So
Right. Thank you for that. Let's go to DE Raptor.
Um, there's always going to be somebody who's going to disagree with you, and if they don't, if they will find a way to do harm to you if they have this anger towards you, and that's what's happening. There's some things that we talk about that really causes anger in the Black community because it's supposed to make people think, and then those people who don't really want to think about that, they just want to enjoy life, you know, and try to keep the other people who are interested in content that we have from enjoying the content that we have. They are not interested in, and they don't want anybody interested in it. It's like the kid who his buddy lives next door, stays in the books, but he wants to play around outside. So he's got to harass his neighbor, saying, "You trying to be white," you know. And when you can't, and when the neighbor don't pay any attention, then you know, him and his buddies get together and beat him up. And that's what's happening. I've seen it myself where people come into the chat, post comments. I said, "Hey, the chat is open. Why don't you go on and let us know what's on your mind?" And they said, "Nope, I don't have the time for that." Well, that's the kind of the challenge that we face. I mean, you can't give up, but we got to find a way around this thing, and we will find a way around it because the people who come here are intelligent. Every one of us give our input, and I mean, it's not 100% you're going to agree with somebody, but most of the time, I see people people who come here often put information in the chat that I can agree with, or I can ask them a question and they will answer me courteously. So that's what we got to do. We got to keep on pushing this thing along. We can't give up.
Yeah, I don't foresee us giving up. The thing is, man, it's getting to the point where we're making statements that people can't refute. So they're going to all sorts of measures. We just had an economics hangout talking about Black millennials in the recession, and we got like 3 thumbs down before the hangout was even an hour in. How much did you even listen to before you even gave it a thumbs down, right? So a lot of people, man, who just don't like us. I suspect it has a lot to do with some disgruntled former members. But I could be wrong. Super Tris, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Greetings. I think that it could possibly. Is my voice coming in?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
on the microphone. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
So I think that you know, there's a twofold offensive that is working against the Black Brain Trust, and one of them is, I believe, there are entities outside of the quote unquote community. I know that in particular, when I was more active in streaming on my particular channel, I would get people that I know from outside the community. I would go to their page because like as soon as I see somebody with some weird comment, before I even delete their comment or whatever, time them out or anything like that, I immediately go to their page and I look through and I try to see, okay, what channels are they subscribed to, and this, that, and the third, and so then I start noticing patterns, and these are people from outside the community that perhaps perceived my content as a threat, and not necessarily that it was, even though I may think it's thought-provoking, maybe it's not that thought-provoking, but the fact that it is dialogue, it is a conversation outside of what is the expected norm according to the stigma associated with Black men in America. So, and of course, obviously, Black Brain Trust, they're having conversations that refute that stigma. And that in itself is problematic for dominant society and others within that spectral continuum. Obviously, there's other people inside America. It's always a black and white argument, but there's other hues in that spectral continuum. Let's bear that in mind. And a lot of them perceive us as being a threat as well. Now, from within our community, unlike the Black Brain Trust, some of these content creators' primary source of income is YouTube or social media. Maybe they're doing Facebook as well as perhaps even product placement and merchandising, all related to their social media presence. And so when you look at things from that particular standpoint, now you have a conversation that's outside that rehashed conversation that you consistently see in other sectors of quote unquote Black YouTube. And it's truly thought-provoking conversation. And it's conversation that's focused on outcomes as opposed to cyclic arguments that go nowhere. And so now you have people who operate outside that mentality, now looking at the Black Brain Trust is like, okay, well, man, I can kind of get with this. And so then you have people going over to those other channels, and they're bringing, basically talking points that were discussed here over there, and now they're looking at the source of that interjection in the comment section. Like, wait a minute, it's the Black Brain Trust's problem. They're whatever they're doing over there is now spreading over to my channel, and it's affecting my bottom line. And so that's what I think is part of the issue that you're seeing, getting flagged, is because, now you're affecting other people's revenue. Because again, you're raising the bar for the conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you always had the National Enquirer and these other rag sheets at the supermarket putting out their fake news and stuff like that. And that's what I consider those other channels to be, fake news. Fake. We're in an information war. I've talked about this, with other panel members this week, that we're in an information war now, where people are pushing a narrative that doesn't really have any substance. I mean, if you let them tell you, they'll tell you that the drug dealers built casinos. I've yet to see any Black drug dealers build casinos, but that's the narrative that they put out there. And when we push back against that, man, it seems to trigger those people. Even now with the whole, South Carolina incident, they're blaming Black men for it.
What though?
Yeah.
MOT did a stream, and I specifically told MOT, or I put in the comment section on the stream, I said, MOT, don't you go poking the bear, because what's going to happen is, and this timestamp, you can see when I actually wrote this comment, I said what's going to happen is that they're going to find some way to blame productive Black men. And sure enough, it's our fault that this happened. This is, it's so unbelievable, but at the same time it's believable, because I knew that's where they were going to go to. And see, the thing about it is, Mike, you mentioned, you referenced Star Magazine, Enquirer, National Enquirer, and there was another one called The Sun that was even cheaper than that one. I remember I'd be in a grocery store line and I see these magazines, and even USA Weekly, a lot of those magazines, just because they got they got the shiny cover, they're the same. They're all the same magazines that are right there. Every last magazine that's right there at the grocery store line, they're all the same. It's just a different amount of marketing and budgeting that's put into the production process, but they're all the same magazine. And what happens is that you have a lot of YouTube content creators. They're all the same thing. They just have a different packaging. So from the untrained eye, it may look like they're putting out actual information, but they're really not. And the problem, the big difference between what you see in the grocery store and what's going on YouTube is that if you want to actually participate in the conversation, you have to make a choice. See, it's different catching the rebroadcast. But if you want to catch the live stream, now you got to choose between their content and the Black Brain Trust. And that's where the problem is now. Because now, if you pull somebody away from their live broadcast, how are they actually giving super chats? You see what I'm saying? Therein lies the problem. And then you have people, going into those chats, and now they're refuting some of the talking points. and maybe they're in defense of the Black Brain Trust. Maybe they don't even know the Black Brain Trust exists. But somehow, the content creators on these other platforms are going to somehow tie that dissent to the Black Brain Trust and other channels like the Black Brain Trust, and they're going to go on the offensive because now that person's in their chat, and people now are reluctant to actually donate, and because now it's like, well, wait a minute, this person is saying that what you're saying is not true. And they have concrete evidence that substantiates their claims. And so that's the problem.
Yeah, I agree with you. Agree with D, agree with Complex as well. That's the struggle that we're up against right now. I was BS this morning, man. I was on the phone with another member, man, and I was ballistic. I couldn't believe that they would go after us. So I'm like, we haven't posted anything benign. There's no, there's no booty pics or anything like that on the live stream. So, and that's why I'm very skeptic about even playing videos, because they'll attack us for that too. The algorithm will go after you if they think that if there's a content ID match. So those are the things that I kind of worry about. But I also worry about some of the language that gets used on here. We have to be careful about some of the language that we use. You can't be using the F words to describe an alternative lifestyle. You just can't use that. You can't be using the GAY to describe certain things, man. There's certain ways we have to conduct ourselves. We have to move now that we've passed that 2,000 mark. If you're gonna participate on the panel, or if you're gonna participate in the chat, you just got to move certain ways. That is a lot more politically correct. I still see some of the comments, and I let the comments go because I think the moderators should actually catch a lot of that stuff. I see some of it getting approved, and I'm like, who's approving that? Especially the last live stream on economics, I saw a few comments. I'm like, that's like a red flag for me. I wouldn't have let that slide.
Yeah, well, and I think that a lot of people that are not actual content creators or people who create content, I'll just say that because I don't consider myself a content creator. I just create some content from time to time. I think it's a big difference, just from a consistency standpoint. But just behind the scenes, just the actual the correspondence that you have with YouTube, and you see that how as someone who creates content, you could be held accountable for what somebody puts in your live chat. And so that's something that I think that perhaps we need to communicate to anybody that's watching. Like, when you're putting stuff in the actual live chat in the comment section, the content creator can be held liable. Like if it's something like it's way out of bounds and it's not checked, then they could be held accountable for that, and they could potentially get some type of strike or something like that, especially if somebody complains or something like that. Especially in this day and age, anything that can be construed as inflammatory against a particular group. Like, sometimes people get, amped up when we're talking about the dynamics between men and women. And sometimes there's some comments that, that are, that could be construed as degrading to a particular demographic. That in itself can result in a strike. And then you get so many strikes, then the content creator loses his ability to actually do live streams. And you have a little bit of latitude since you're not monetized, but even still, if somebody complains, then it's a problem. And even if it's unfounded, just the fact that somebody actually reports the actual site, then they have to do the YouTube is going to do some sort of investigation, and so it's a real sticky situation. We got to be really careful from all fronts, both on the panel and in the live chat.
All right, let's go with Complex. He's waiting.
Oh, hey. Triz, kind of follow up what you're saying. I think it's not as if anything that we say isn't something that's been said elsewhere. And, you know, in terms of saying things about like the opposite sex and stuff like that, I mean, there's far worse things that are said on like a daily basis on some channels. And, you know, I've never heard their channels getting taken down. So, you know, I think, you know, not taking away from what you're saying or your point, but I think there's something else behind it. I don't necessarily think that it has anything to do with that, because people don't care for the type of stuff that's said on other, you know, platforms and, you know, other channels and stuff. You know, when you listen to the nature of the discussion, the vulgarity, you know, the rumbling, the mudslinging, the this and the that, the yelling, the cursing, the this, and I mean, I think we handle ourselves with a fair bit of composure. I think what it is just, you know, maybe our humor rubs people the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it like the conversations don't devolve into anything where, I mean, in my view anyway, it would be granted a strike, you know, all things considered. You know, like I said, you go to some of these other channels here, I mean, it is just all out air. I mean, if we were to put it to the PC litmus test, Jesus. I mean, we're saints.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly feel that there's actually something else to this. And I really do think it has more to do with who it is and what's being said. Intelligent brothers have an intelligent dialogue about very real things. And I really believe that that's kind of like the crux of it, right? Mike, how many live streams are we in? How many? 300, we're over 300 or something.
It's like 360, I think, tonight.
360. Okay. That's a significant number. You know, one thing to take away from this is that's 360 examples of consistency. That's 360 examples of intelligence. It's 360 examples of the counter narrative in your goddamn face.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that is striking a chord more than anything, right? Because this notion of this idea that brothers like us just aren't, you know, functional or anything like that. I think we've destroyed all of these narratives at this point. So it's like, well, what left to do, right? Flag the channel. And well, I think that's a really bad way to go.
Well, that's the reason why I prefaced my statements with the potential of a threat from outside of the quote unquote community. And I mentioned that, you know, some examples that I seen when I was, you know, more actively streaming, you know, people coming into my comment section, and I'll be like, how did you even find my channel? You know, but, you know, you have people specifically out there lurking around because, you know, it's like what you just said is key. You know, we're actually changing that dialogue. And that's what's more of a threat than anything, because, you know, even though what's said on other channels is way more inflammatory, way more offensive, but because they're not a threat, they're not going to actually, you know, pursue whatever infraction that they may have committed. But for somebody on a Black Brain Trust, the dialogue that we're having is very threatening, because now, you know, you're presenting being a black productive male in a very, very attractive manner. And I'm not talking about like superficially attractive, but I'm talking about like the overall concept of being productive as a Black male. You know, hey man, it's like, it sounds like it's a good idea, you know. And so now people who and really, it's presented, the information is presented in such a way that now people kind of realize, like, wait a minute, it's not even that hard to be a productive Black male. This takes a little bit of sacrifice to get that snowball going. You know, take a step back. There's just one little step back. You could take 2-3 steps forward. And people see that with the dialogue that we're having here. And that's what's really a threat, because it's like, wait a minute, that could, this Black Brain Trust thing could kind of catch on. And they see the subscriber count going up, and people, the actual attendance during the live stream is going up, participation is going up, and it's so structured. You don't see like the conversation devolving into foolishness and debauchery like you see on some other content creator channel.
Mm-hmm.
And Triz, that's why I just find this, I find this like just highly disingenuous, man. Because of what you just said, it's kind of like, well, there's structure here. There's structure here. It's open dialogue. It's not disrespectful. I mean, there's been a couple times where there's been blow up, yeah, but out of 360 live streams, dude, that's like what, 5%, maybe? I would say 5% of all of our live streams may have had like a blow up, like literally 5%, dude. The content is structured. It's very real. We pull from sources, and then we also cross-reference, and we also reference past live streams as it relates to, say, like the current events that are going on, so that we can make connections to what we talked about in the past, predictions that were made, and then we say, hey, look, well, back on episode such and such, we were talking about this. You always hear Mike, you always hear myself, you hear Lionel. We always talk about what article we referenced from, a month ago, 2 weeks ago, we covered this. So it's like, when you really look at it in sum total, it's kind of like, man, are people out there really offended by like brothers just, presenting real information intelligently? Like we really do need to take a serious long inventory at ourselves if that really does cause a problem with you.
Let me go to the first person who has a hand raised, which is Cyberdyne.
So I see it's only, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only 4 of us here. So just real quick, Mike, because I agree a lot with what the brothers are saying, Triz especially. So we're technologists kind of locked into this little house cleaning session. And so, Mike, I know you're a security guy. I think we got another security guy on here, right? So I think now that we kind of understand the dynamics, which are very clear, either it's someone outside of this, the trust community itself that's, working against it, some bad actor somewhere, right? We get that part. So the developer and, the tinkerer in me immediately shifts to how do we enable some countermeasures and begin to proactively counteract against this type of threat. It's nothing short of that, which is kind of why I'm asking, is anyone else listening in on us, trying to strategize and counteract on this? Because while you guys are talking, I'm listening, I'm actually here working and looking at a number of different things, but I don't want to divulge information that's going to be useful, especially if someone's listening. I would much prefer that I say, some of this or suggest some of this in private, where we can be in a
you can do it offline.
Right.
Yeah, we can do that offline.
A private enclosed space, which I think, Mike, you may or may not agree, but at least I'll put it out there, which may be effective, because I think it runs congruent with your philosophy. Since the channel isn't monetized, I think it kind of runs congruent with your philosophy and reasons for doing that. But I don't want to divulge that out here in the wild, where people are probably listening to us and saying, okay, yeah, let's see what they're going to try to do. No, I think, now that we know there's a threat, we need to, like you said, not just kind of, excuse me, not just kind of watch our verbal tone, but we need to begin to utilize our resourcefulness, and begin to put literal controls in place that defend us from people taking advantage of the system. And Trez is right. And you just said it. YouTube has an algorithm. There are people who can take advantage of that all types of ways, but I'm looking at a couple of things here. And I think with some creative thinking, we can begin to leverage some tools and counteract this and kind of keep it moving. So, that's where I'm at in terms of a hard solution. We also need some literal controls to protect ourselves, to give us some additional armor.
I agree.
I was sitting here talking and my mic was muted. Let's go to DE Raptor.
Sorry. We focus on giving people information, not only information, but we ask them a question. What are you doing with your life right now? If you need to make some changes, here's some information that can help you. The problem is that we are all black men. There are a few young ladies in the chat, and they come on sometimes and have a conversation. But we're all black men, and none of the people who don't like the content on this station, on this channel, we don't go to their channel and mess with them. The information that we put out is basically to get people to look at what's happening around them and try to find a way to either get around it or get over it or start something that's going to prepare themselves for what's coming. And there are going to be a lot of people who don't like black men doing that, regardless of this has been a long-standing thing. Anytime a black man stands up doing things, but the problem is that they are attacking their own community, and we are a part of the community. Well, YouTube, the black manosphere, and when they attack us without fearing that they too are going to get hurt by it, they're sadly mistaken. And me, I would kind of like try to tell them, you know what? Eventually, the problem that the problem that you're going to create is going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt the Black Brain Trust.
You know, I had I wanted to follow up on something that Mike, you and Trez were both saying. Trez, did you say, or did you guys say something to the effect that you know, a lot of what happens here kind of trickles into other people's chats on other platforms, and that's kind of maybe a cause for some of the discontent? Did I hear you guys say that?
Well, I doubt that was what I had said, because I've actually, like, you know, I actually go to other people's channels, and I may pop in and out, and I'm talking about I go to other people's channels even outside of Black YouTube, the Black sector of YouTube as well. And I when I go to these other channels and you know, just a variety of channels on YouTube, especially during the live streams, I see how other people's comments you know, emanate from another content creator. I'll give you an example that's not related to the Black Brain Trust. There was an actual there's a YouTube content creator who goes by the name of Coach Blank Blank, and he basically made a live stream going against a very, very, very popular content creator who's part of the whole I guess it's the Red Man or 21 Convention, whatever. And he has a popular channel that's related to entrepreneurs and motor vehicles. I'll just say that. And so at any rate, while he was doing a live stream, people that were affiliated with that particular, the other content creator, went into Coach Blank Blank's stream and were really, stirring up, and it basically took attention off of what the live streamer was doing. And so then what happens is that, the actual the super chat slow down because people were going back and forth with each other in the live chat, not even paying attention to the live stream. So then now the revenue is affected. And then people are now like, well, now I got to pick sides, because a lot of times you share audiences with other content creators. But then when you have that dissent that occurs, then people are forced. Like this is not the first time this has happened. There was another content creator within Black YouTube that specifically told people that if you F with this guy, then you can't F with me. And this was towards another Black YouTuber. And this was like maybe 2 years ago, or no, not even 2 years ago. Like when I first got on YouTube, this whole back and forth occurred between two Black, very, 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 very popular Black YouTube content creators. So this is the type of stuff that happens. People now got, like I said before, people feel like they got to choose sides. So now you have factions that form, and then like in allegiance to the content creator as opposed to the actual content. That's the problem. Because
Jesus
now it's
Christ,
like focus.
grow up, people.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like why can't you focus on like there's content creators that may be in opposition to quote unquote the Black Brain Trust, but that doesn't mean that I can't take away something from the content that they create. Every once in a while, the saying a clock is right twice, a broken clock is right twice in a day. Sometimes they may have some gems, on their streams. But just because I don't like that content creator doesn't mean that I have to do something insidious to undermine their platform.
Exactly.
I actually listen to their content for reconnaissance purposes. I have
Same here.
I have to know what's being said about the Black Brain Trust in order to protect the integrity of the brand itself. Outside of that, I don't really get too much involved in the character favoritism game that they play. I'm only listening to it for the intelligence gathering, and that's it. Because outside of that, I don't really need to get anything from them, because YouTube is only like 10% of what I do in a day. Most of my days are filled with volunteer work on the ground or some solidarity work I do with Palestinians and Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans and Syrians and Lebanese people and so on and so forth. So I don't really need their content, to be quite frank with you. I don't really need their content because I'm already out there. They talk about being out there, but I'm really out there. I'm not saying anything about bad about you listening to them. I'm saying I listen to them for a different reason. So.
Well, and I think that's another sharp point there. When we look at how much time, like if we were to average out the length of a live stream that we do, it would probably come in at about 2.5 to 3 hours, which would equate to about 10% of one's day, right? So, and that goes for all of us. So I'm just having a little bit of difficulty here because, I mean, look, if our input in all this is at the most, sometimes the open chats will run 3.5, close to 4. Usually I noticed like at about 4 hours, we're clipping, right? So it runs a little bit over, but we don't put that much out there, in contrast to like other individuals who do a lot of YouTubing. And a lot of the discussions during their YouTubing has a lot more provocative language, subject matter, and all of that. So again, I'm comparing and contrasting here. We put in 2.5 to 3 hours on average, and we talk about real world events, give our analysis on it, and people are flagging. Go to other channels, 8 hours of just yelling and all types of, expletives and everything, and nothing. It's just very telling, man.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think DE Raptor wanted to get in. But he's still eating his lumpy cream of wheat.
No, bro. You know, come to think of it, I was thinking about that today, bro.
Oh, you want some more lumpy cream of wheat?
I was thinking about that today, like, nah, tonight I'm having some vegetables I put inside the blender there, man.
You'd say it just like my mother says it, boy. She still says it to this very day. Unbelievable.
I'm rather old school, man. You're forgetting.
She doesn't call it an oven, she calls it an oven. Oh man, this is crazy.
Oven.
Ovan. Kind of like what the girl lives in, ovan.
Old van.
Man, look,
What I put right there in the private Zoom chat, fellas, could be viable way. I'm not going to speak too much on it because it's there in the live. I mean, it's there in the private chat. But
Cool.
reducing the attack surface.
Yep.
We would agree is what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. What were you saying, DE?
Oh, sorry. I had changed my mind to what my brother was saying. But look, we our focus, like Complex is saying, our focus is on just providing information to people that is basic, should be basic knowledge to everybody. But we find that in the Black community it's not, and it doesn't take the time that we put in compared to what other people put in, as he was saying, is like minuscule. We don't we don't affect their talking points. You know, they talk about whatever, not talk really. They never could agree on anything. It's like a fight. It's like a war going on in that zone.
Mm-hmm.
But staying out of that thing's been one of Mike's. I mean, that's one of the things I see Mike go after all the time. You know what? Stay out of that. We don't even want to mention names of it. And to look at them trying to attack us is like, I don't know. It's like a fly on an elephant, but still they get some points out of it. And that's the one thing I don't understand about YouTube. But you know, I'm not up to snuff on what YouTube does and how they do it. I really should start caring about that more because it looks like we need that protection, that extra layer of protection.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think at some point this other group will eventually go off the face of the map. The thing is, if your content doesn't scale, especially from a monetization standpoint, it will fail over time. We've seen many famous YouTubers come and go over the last few years. So these other groups that are in opposition to us for whatever reason will eventually burn out by next year. At one point, you know, you had certain people within the manosphere that were really popular. You know, they used to have 600 plus people into their live streams in the middle of the day, but now they can barely get 1,000 subscribers. You can look at their analytics and see that they've plateaued almost exclusively on the content that they're doing. Us, we never really put too much emphasis behind having a whole bunch of subscribers. We kind of just had we had a set amount, like 500. We built the channel for like 250. Dollar Will said it would go to 500, and from there it just kept scaling. So, and it's even scaling now. We just got new subscribers just the last few minutes. So I think what's happening is that those other channels are not scaling the way that they think that they should. And the whole doom and gloom thing, which is where this all came from. A few weeks ago on Gab Talks Media's channel, there was a discussion about doom and gloom and fear mongering and stuff like that. And people don't like the fact that we push, on Economic Fridays, that the black community is going to collapse and this and that. They think that it's all fair porn, really fair gaggers, but what we call it over here. But basically, they don't like that. They think that you should be a man, and a man should go out there and hunt squirrels in the neighborhood, and ain't afraid to skin a cat or something like that and eat it. This is not Vietnam, man, and this is the Black Brain Trust. We don't really have to do things like that over here. I think what's happening is that these guys don't like the ideas of a actual societal collapse, because they believe in the system. They believe that capitalism is going to be there. They believe that the racist white supremacist system is going to be there, and they believe in democracy. They believe in all that stuff, even though they can't enjoy it. They believe it's going to be there. It's an illusion to them. Uh-oh, I think yeah, I think we got 5 minutes left, and we'll close it out.
Does it show a history of are you able to see a excuse me, a metric of whether or not those I guess those disliked or whatever
No.
content was older or newer? Well, you know what, you did say the one just today was
yeah. The analytics doesn't go really that deep, at least from Google YouTube standpoint. And I don't really look into it that deep. I rarely look at the analytics unless I see something that's that I think needs to be questioned. Outside of that, I don't really care for the analytics, because I know what we're doing, and I know who our audience is, and I know who we're dealing with. But
exactly,
we start to go after certain videos, man. The most popular videos are the open chats, and then comes the geopolitics, and then after that comes space and technology, and then comes economics. So
yeah, see, we got somebody in this little, I'm sitting here looking on both of my phones, and I see somebody caught something. So we definitely have some bad actors, and that's fine. Like I said in the private Zoom, let's just start taking measures to begin to harden and reduce. So without saying too much.
All right, let me see who else is trying to get in. Let me let Nick get the final word, and then we'll close out and give him a couple minutes.
Hey, hello? You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Now I'll just say I'm not in YouTube. I just kind of talk because I'm studying all day. So I love to come on here and listen to people talk about serious things. But I'll say I think you guys I've been on a lot of different streams, just talking and seeing what's up. I like your guys' stream because your stream lets other views get across. You don't just cut them off instantly. You don't demand you're the Lord and Savior of people that don't even know you, and you just let people talk. And I think that's why your channel's rising, why people are liking it. I think if they're hating on you or flagging you or whatever, take it as a compliment. It means you're doing something. It means you're actually getting somewhere.
The thing is, Nick, is that the new guidelines state that if you get 3 strikes, you're gone for good. So that means the channel would be gone, and everything that we put into it would disappear as well. So we have to.
Have you gone to them and been like, hey, like we're getting you? I know you can go to YouTube and you can get flags taken off. I know people have done that. You can go to YouTube and tell them like, hey, like we're getting flagged for, and mind you, what are they flagging you for? It has to be like something like copyright is one.
No, copyright is different. Copyright is different from community guideline violations. So
okay, so basically you think that, so basically your argument is that we talk about the same subject as the other places, and then like you're getting flagged because you guys aren't.
No, under the new guidelines, Mega Man.
Yeah.
Basically, what YouTube did in a nutshell was that YouTube had this great big problem regarding very questionable, dangerous, and horrifying content. And so what they did is that, and along with a bunch of algorithms, they tried to make the platform better by making it easier to identify, quantify, and make better single metrics for the questionable content or for abusers abusing YouTube, because you got some enemy negative, militias out there using YouTube. And what Mike is saying is that now, while your point is very good, we don't have, or any other content creators just don't have the luxury of saying, you know what, flag me if you want all day. It's a compliment. We know we're doing great. No, YouTube has basically a hard and fast rule where if you get flagged for any reason, the algorithm was working against you first and primarily. Secondarily, yeah, they've got teams, but no one's going. It's just like Craigslist. You get your ad flag, you're selling something good. There's nobody that you're going to go there and talk to who's going to sit there and look through every case like a judge or a court docket and decide you're not guilty, and you get to go back out into YouTube, and you're going to be exempt from another round of flagging. That exists what I would say a technological flaw, not a fault of YouTube. I want to be very clear in my language as a technical expert in saying that, but it's a technological flaw that has been and can be exploited by malicious people who are on YouTube, and they're not about the right thing, and that goes for any channel, not just the Black Brain Trust.
Okay, I'll give you some like hardline advice that I tell people all the time. Is like, as a coach told me back in the day, you gotta schmooze. What I mean is that, like, okay, obviously there's like how many people are on YouTube? Hundreds of thousands, millions, or whatever, right? Now you're a young channel, whatever. You still need to, like, if I was you, I would go email whoever. Like, there's always someone you can go to, the head of whatever. Tell them what's going on and become their friend. Like, literally, I'm telling you, this, like,
YouTube doesn't have staff.
So you don't have staff anymore. There's no more staff. There's not someone you go to. I guarantee there is, because I know
the staff is voluntary in terms of community strikes and community guidelines. So that's a voluntary aspect.
But listen, even if it's voluntary,
the corporate aspect is they don't have a person that you can actually talk to unless you have a check mark next to your name verified. They won't even talk to you.
Okay, so you're basically trying to earn your check mark, essentially, right?
No, you get a check mark if you're a branded entity. We're not a branded entity, and we never really.
So
we never really had to anticipate this sort of trouble. Because
okay, well,
let me finish, Nick.
Go on.
We never really had to worry about that because we weren't being bothered by anybody. It wasn't until recently that certain individuals have taken issue with some of the content that has been posted. So it's not so much the space and technology stuff or the economic stuff and stuff like that. It's the open chat. Somebody saying something within the open chat that is triggering these people to flag some of the content.
Hey, okay, I feel you, but I'll say this, like, honestly, like, okay, but at least now you know. So obviously, get together, whoever's part of this, each of you throw like $7 in, and go get an LLC for this. And you should copyright your name too, because that's a really good name. I can't believe you haven't done it yet. You should do it like tomorrow. All right? Get an LLC, make it a brand. Now you're beholden to different laws, right? Mm-hmm. You beholden to different laws now. So here's my point is this. Everything you're saying makes sense. Like, you guys came together, you did everything you want to do, right? you've done all these things or whatever, but now it's gotten to the point, if you're getting flagged and you want to keep doing it, now you're at a different level of a corporation, of a business, and you guys need to figure out your schematics, your percentages, talk to each other. You all go in there, figure out how you're going to do it, and as soon as possible, get it as a brand, the BBC Trust or whatever you want to do, name it, have your logo, copyright that as well. This can all be done under like $150. You get all those things. Then as soon as you get that stuff, you go to YouTube and you say, hey, like, this is our brand, this is our channel, we're making sales, we're an entity. And now you may not have a check mark yet. And now you're looked at differently. You're not just a couple guys saying whatever, you're a brand, right? So that will give you a little bit more power to complain or do whatever, or else if you do,
well, Mega, if I can, just for some enlightenment.
Yeah.
So let me give you a perhaps a different a more closer perspective. So being that you have much larger, more conglomeratized entities on YouTube, what I think a lot of people don't realize is that these policies, you can't buy your way or politicize your way to YouTube about this. This policy is a very new policy. It came out just recently. Yeah. This policy applies to very large media outlets, right? These are outlets who, they have enormous resources. They have very strong political ties to businesses and factions and endorsements and sponsorships. Mm-hmm. They are subject to the same policies and guidelines that, a small but yet effective unit like the Black Brain Trust is subject to as well. The second part of this, right, excuse me, is that, we, it's not about, like Mike said, it's not about monetizing or doing anything like that. And so, we just have to, to utilize some protection mechanisms that protect us from this. We have the content, so we're not really, I don't think the gentlemen are worried about the content. It's about being creative and basically saying, okay, if this is the level that we're playing at, that's fine. Now we're just going to take it a notch even higher, right? We're going to take it a notch even higher, to go up, to continue to go above and beyond with content that we know that's not questionable. But these flaggings and mechanisms that are negative, everybody has to pretty much abide by these, so there isn't a golden fleece, so to speak, to avoid that.
I hear your point. I think I hear you. So you're basically saying that right now you're basically like, you're in a war, you have no weapons, and people are just stabbing you, essentially, right?
No, we have weapons. We have weapons.
But, weapons to stop the stabbing, essentially. Like, you can't really stop the fight. You can't really do all other stuff.
Yeah, we have weapons. They're weapons, but I think it's situations like this where, anybody in history who's ever done anything worth anything, they took a couple cuts and stabs, and eventually cuts and stab heals, and if we are who we say we are, and people who are a part of this believe in what these gentlemen have been pumping and are pumping, and that's why they've grown, then certainly that's fine. If people are going to attack, let them do it. But this will prove why the integrity and the measure of the Black Brain Trust is worth its weight in gold and platinum or whatever valuable materials you want to call it, because we will constructively and effectively, I believe, deal with this, and we're gonna keep on watching, man. So that's just me.
I completely 100% agree. I think what I'm trying to say is that I think the one thing I think people always take themselves with law is that there's always a loophole, and there's always something to fight. There's always something you can do. If there wasn't nothing you can do, then you wouldn't have, I don't know, Logan Paul, these big YouTubers getting flagged, or showing deaths and coming back. Like there's always a loophole in everything. Nothing's ever ironclad, iron tight. Even in
Of course.
so my point is this. Even with YouTube, right? They have to have rules of engagement. They have to have literally like rules of engagement because people have tried to sue YouTube before. I guarantee you 1,000 times. And when the court goes to go see it, they go, all right, well, YouTube's under, what are their rules, right? Like the NBA has their own personal rules you can't break. The lawyers, that like Antonio Brown right now, he's going to get his money from the Patriots because no matter what they said, it's quid pro quo. He signed the contract to play the game, right? They can say what they want. He's going to get his money. They may drag it out. He'll get his money based off the rules of the Players Association and NFPA is what they go off of, right? So my thing I'm trying to say to you is that basically you realize now your content's good. You're doing what you need to do. But now you get ready for war. You have to, like I said, schmooze. You got one of you or whatever, keep making your content. But now you're going to have to like figure out, okay, what are the guidelines, everything, know exactly what they are, know what the things you cannot break are. So then if you do get it flagged again, you have a case. Regardless of what anyone says, yeah, they flag most people, but they have to have a hearing because people do get the flags off.
Well, you know, hold on. Well, let me stop you. I think Mike kind of had mentioned that. You know, Mike has the experience because he's dealt with this issue before. So he knows what it's like to, you know, go in front of the board, go in front of the panel. He has experience with the appellate process that they have here, right? The other part of this is that I think he said something very critical that I caught on to, and I actually researched this, is that, you know, while YouTube doesn't have a de facto corporate body that, you know, looks at these things and, you know, it's a lot of procedure on their part, right? And everybody who's a part of that process, it's voluntary, like he said, and they all don't speak the same language. So some of it is very subjective. You can get a YouTube strike from what my analysis has been, and it could just be simply any one of the differentiating members of a panel somewhere who represent YouTube just reacting to it per their protocol. So there are controls on, you know, both sides of this thing. And to be honest, you know, me personally, you know, I'm as a very strategic person in business and in life, you know, I'm not worried about this. Like I said, I don't think it's, you know, we need to go running, hollering, jumping out of windows, calling for flames and fire, fire, fire. You know, we have capable, able individuals who make up the Black Brain Trust, who are not the uninitiated. So, you know, again, I trust these gentlemen. And again, I'm a part of these guys. So, you know, we're the Black Brain Trust. And it is exactly what it is. We're going to leverage our intellectual resources to do what we need to do. You know, that's just, again, my
we need to close out. So, yeah, thank you all for joining us, and hit the like button, man. And we'll see you tomorrow on Black Tech Talk.
Hey, good luck, guys. I'm going.
Peace.
Peace, y'all.
Shalom.
All right, peace.